Welcome back everyone to Venlo Zoo, our European city zoo, and in the last episode we've actually built a penguin habitat for the African penguin with a special twist. Actually, this habitat used to be an old one, very small, and we enlarged it into a modern, bigger one, which I think turned out absolutely beautiful. But in today's episode, we are going to focus yet again onto making, first of all, more bicycles, because our zoo grows, and so we need more bicycles to be parked over here. At the end of the day, we are in the Netherlands, and people will come by bike eventually, which I think is a brilliant trait about the Dutch friends on the other side of the border. However, first things first, we need to cover up our desert house. Today's episode will feature actually a lot. This is quite some footage I have put together, and also this time around sped it up by 9 times other than the normal 7 times, simply because it was so much and I didn't want to delete all of it. I still have not used 50% of the footage and cut out some boring parts. However, the first active action I did over here is finishing up the roof area of our desert house. It still has these kind of open spaces to the left and right of these triangles. I will still have to cover them. Not sure why I didn't do that quite now, but well, whatever. And then I went on to preparing the area of, well, the center, so to say, because our entire building is made in the shape of a V, obviously, for Venlo Zoo. This was always the idea. I've already showed that to you in the last episodes. And there is a specific thing that is important to note about this habitat. There is a lot of implied stuff going on, so you understand where this is coming from. So, this entire build has the idea that there's a huge basement below the desert house. So once this has been established as a modern build, they obviously have rebuilt it from the ground up, and the main idea was to just have a huge basement area below the desert house, which can also house some animals, has some shelters and stuff like that. But what I don't like is if these things are built and you don't even have some light coming in, and this is why I made already sure that we have a huge ditch here at the beginning, which lowers the ground, and then we have some window areas. I obviously used the non-transparent windows because obviously it's all implied and I couldn't build any interior behind that. I mean, I could, but this is not the point. Even though I might be tempted at some point to do that, but it's going to be a bit harder with the terrain around. So I have a different idea of doing so, but for the moment being, I just made sure that we have some entrances to the shelters, as you can see over here. This is the garage door I was using, and making sure that this is a realistic entrance to a, well, underground section. And the idea is that this can house all the animals that are living in this huge desert space. Now, which animals, you may be wondering, or actually are not, because you've seen the thumbnail and title of the video, but if you're listening to the video, I'll give you a bit of a story. So at the beginning, I wanted to put in only the camel, and then I figured, you know what, I have a huge space and I could make this a shared habitat, because usually camels are not held together with other animals in a habitat, but they do go together according to the Zoopedia in this game, but also to some zoos in the world. They do sometimes share the habitat, and I kind of had the idea to go with a gazelle, and I then decided to go with a very unusual choice when it comes to these pairings, and this is the African porcupine. Now, I do know that there is barely that much of the actual habitat they are sharing in the world. They do share some of the habitat, but it's actually a tiny fraction only from their overall natural habitats. However, they do go together somehow, and I wouldn't believe that they would arrange relatively quickly. I mean, camels can be rather aggressive, and they can also be territorial, but they will notice relatively quickly that, going to a porcupine isn't the most, let's say, comfortable thing to do. And at the same time, obviously, the porcupine may not want to go and fight with such a big animal. So eventually they will get along. At least this is my idea. And this is the reason why I decided to go for those 3 types of animals living together, sharing this huge habitat. But I did one thing for the porcupines, which you'll see in the footage in a bit. I actually gave them an interior space that they can go to get, out of the way from the gazelles and the camels if there is a need to. The gazelles and the camels, though, have to get together. They have to get along, because otherwise it just doesn't work. But they should. The Zoopedia says that. A quick little dirty online research said that. So I think they'll be fine. They will be getting along just fine. And so this is why I decided to go for that one. Now, you can see, as always, I'm using a lot of these boulders over here, these little rocks. And for those of you who need this trick and haven't seen this, I'm using this and doing this as one group. And once I'm happy with where they are sitting, I'm taking the whole group and I'm sinking the group into the ground ever so slightly, so that all the rocks go below the ground and it looks even more realistic and natural. Once I have done this, I went on and put some bushes down. Well, believe me or not, I was too stupid to create a group. First of all, you can see I'm not working in a group, which I noticed like 10 minutes later when it was all too late. But I eventually was able to just select them just fine and move them also as a separate group and make this whole thing look a bit more overgrown. Like realistically, this is the only region where some stuff can grow, because obviously inside of the habitat, everything will be relatively bare. I have gone for a bit more styling at the end, as you will see in the real-time part. But to be completely honest, like these animals, like camel habitats, most likely are super boring. This is also why I have relatively seldom built for camels in this game. I mean, it's just like a lot of sand and a bit of soil, a rock here and there, and 2 or 3 enrichment items, and they're pretty much good to go, you know? There's really not that much of a huge need for anything else. They are just fine with that. I mean, living in a desert, what would we expect, you know, building a desert house? But speaking of, this is the porcupine area in the desert house, because I also wanted to have something inside of the desert house. So not only to the outside, also the inside. And then you can see I made sure that they have a little bit of an entrance, was checking the traversable area to ensure that only the porcupine can get through and none of the others. Unfortunately, that also means we can't have any keeper stuff in there, so we can't really make sure that they get some food. It's a bit of a pity, because the second I would build a gate, the gazelle could also get in just like fine, and also I think baby camels could get in through this one too, and I wanted to avoid that, and this is why I went on creating like this little gate over here from some sandstones, as you can see, just making sure that this looks good. And I was also trying to lay out a couple other habitats just so I had them, simply because it's always a struggle to work with these things. And at this point, I'm also not using free build anymore. The fact that Zoo Sicily is crashing so much with other people has made me stop using the mods a little bit too excessively, I guess. So to make this zoo a bit more, you know, achievable, I will eventually get back to free build, because this didn't cause me any more issues after all. But I guess I have to get rid of the pathing mod, which honestly is something I would love to not do, because the pathing mod is just one of the best things that has ever happened to the game. You get so much more freedom in building null path, even raised null path, which is brilliant. So, yeah, I don't know. But you can see I'm using a couple of little tricks over here to make things look nicer, putting like a bit of a hot tap in here for our porcupines so that they can get here. And then I was trying different things, you know, to just make these habitats look a bit more interesting and nice, and put a tree here and there. Just not too sure what I should do with the trees. At this point, it may actually feel a bit too green already, but you'll see that in the real-time part later on. I have talked about that too. I do like it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it just kind of feels odd to have so much greenery in a desert house, which you actively keep that little humid and also that hot. And dry was the word I was looking for, by the way. But, you know, I will eventually get there and find the right balance between it. And I'm also going to check some of the inspiration image I have. This is most likely very helpful to have a folder where you have all your inspirational stuff in, and then, you know, every now and then you just look inside. It's not, you know, that dramatic if you are diverting from that a little. So if you have the inspiration and at some point you're not looking into that anymore, you just go with the flow. Sometimes that's really good to have a very good foundation. But once you get stuck, just get your inspirational images back and check out if there is anything you did wrong or anything you would change now. And this building over here we are approaching right now is pretty much exactly this example. I was checking some images of a Dutch restaurant, and once I had a style in my mind, I was just going for it, you know? I was just building the building, putting a little quick layout down, starting to play around with some brick kind of colors and sizes, and just making sure how I want to lay it out. And once I was happy with this, I figured, okay, well, what do we do with the roof? In a second, you'll see we will get towards to the roof, and the roof caused me really a headache, and I even stopped playing the game at that day because I really felt like, okay, you're not going to find a solution. I was just testing a couple of things with the Euro pack, and then I just didn't click with me. And what I did eventually was I went back to all my inspirational images, and I checked out some of the Dutch kind of architecture inspirations I had downloaded, and I made sure to look back at the entrance plaza to understand how that looked, and I just wanted to divert from that a bit, but not too much. And I wanted to keep this building somewhat classic, but at the same time, I wanted to make it feel new because it's next to that modern desert house, you know? And this is kind of the contrast we have in this zoo every time going on, and this is simply what I thought. Yeah, you can see now this is where I was struggling with the roof at the one day, trying a couple of things, and you will soon see that I did a little cut here because I was like, okay, it's just not gonna work. And there you go, this is after the cut, and I was like, okay, hold on, I'm gonna do something different now. And honestly, the different thing I did turned out super well. You'll see that in the real-time part. It just really felt good. Once I was done, I was super happy with the outcome. It's looking super clean. It's looking super clean, super welcoming, and it looks Dutch. So all the checkboxes checked. Yeah, see, it's not, I don't want to make sure that the whole zoo looks Dutch. This isn't by any means the target. The target is to make a very European city zoo, which effectively is in the Netherlands. And so this is the main reason why I feel like this is a good mixture of like modern European builds and also very Dutch builds to make sure that it is in the Netherlands. But also this is potentially the best usage of the Euro pack ever. But anyways, to make this a bit more of a secret, and this time around, because the time lapse is already long enough, I'm gonna hand you over now to the wonderful real-time Rudi. He had a blast showing you around and showing you how some people found some good seats over here. So I will hand you over in the very capable hands of the future Rudi. Actually, this time it was the past Rudi because I've done this before I did the voiceover. Whatever. You'll be happy, you'll be fine, and I'm gonna talk to you after the cut. Right, we are starting yet again with the meerkats in front of the desert house, just so we have a little bit of an idea where we're going. And actually we're going to the left-hand side this time around to keep the anticipation going a little. Simply because this is the side where not too many things are, and we will make our way towards the side that is kind of nice. You can see also there's a little bit of a rock peeking through. I need to fix that eventually. And if we go quickly inside here, you can already tell this is where their camel habitat will be sitting, but don't worry, do not look at that because this is just not really what it will be looking like finally. I just stopped at some point because, oh my god, this recording was so long. You can see this is another little habitat that will eventually be used. For now, it's just like an open little thing. Not entirely sure what exactly will go in, but I have some ideas. And if you have ideas what animals shall get into the desert house, let me know please in the comments, because obviously I will take that into consideration. We will most certainly have an aardvark in here. We will also have prairie dogs. These two are most likely a given. But, well, everything else is kind of debatable, you know. Going further, we will now have a little look from the outside, and oh my god, am I happy. This turned out super nice. I mean, you know, considering the fact that these camel habitats and like almost always are super boring, simply because they don't really need that much apart from, you know, just having a bit of a space, I guess, and some rocks, and that's about it. We also have some donators again and some members and also whatever. And we have Yuslalia. She has been a vital member of the community forever, and has had birthday last week, so I thought I'm gonna give her a little place over here, also to finish that up with a 5th stone, because the other 4 are very much for people who joined last week. So first of all, we have Kiro VR. Hello, welcome on in. Thank you so much for becoming a member. And also let's move on to the next one, which is Deklenki. Hello, Deklenki, welcome on in. And before we go to the next ones, let's have a little look at the ditch and so on. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love it. So yeah, basically, as I was talking about, the idea of this entire habitat is that this is the outdoor section. Obviously, we have a shared habitat with the gazelles, and we have some of these wonderful porcupines. They can actually go over here. We're gonna have a look at their indoor section in a bit, and we obviously have our camels, and everyone can actually go down here into the shelter. This is the major idea, that below this entire building there's like a huge maintenance area and also some shelters and stuff, and so that they have daylight, we also have, as you can see over here, some windows. And this is obviously, everything is implied, but I wanted to keep it somewhat realistic so that there is logically a very nice area down below, and then they have this outside area, and they even have like a little bit to go inside that we just seen a couple of seconds ago. But yeah, I'm very happy about the rock work. I feel like this looks very zoo-ish, very realistic this way. You know, the porcupines can actually slip through here and have a little walk down here in the ditch, but the camels can't get here, so they can't jump over. I'm also very happy with this custom fence design. It just kind of shares something, you know, it's a bit classic, it's a bit modern, so I'm very happy with how that turned out. We have some benches everywhere, can sit in here and have a look. And then we have Bisasam over here. Not entirely sure if that's pronounced correctly. If you're German, I remember this is a name of a Pokemon, but it's just a German name. I have no idea how these international names are, other than Pikachu, because Pikachu obviously is the same in every language, I suppose. And then we also have Niels Reinieren. No idea if that was pronounced correctly, or if it's Niels Reinieren, like if it's German, or if it's Reinieren, I don't know. Depending on which language, it definitely is pronounced wrong. So I'm not even trying, you know. But look at this area. I'm so happy how that turned out. I'm so happy. Mega. I really am happy, because I mean, I talked about this in the time lapse already. Also look at the restaurant. I really dig the design by now. Also, let's quickly go in before we go to the restaurant, because we're gonna have a look at this indoor section. And I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna stick with the tree. It almost is a little bit too green already here in the desert house. So potentially I'm gonna get rid of some of these trees, just to make it not so crazy greenish, the most tropical. And I wanted to keep this very deserty, so potentially I'm gonna get rid of some of these palm trees and so on. What about you guys? Excuse me? How did you get here? This is definitely not your position. Hello. I'm not sure how they made its way in here. Let me just quickly fix that, because this is definitely not how they should be in here. So let's quickly just change this, because oh my god. So there you go. Oops. Okay, now I changed everything. Let's jump back into the explore mode. There you go. And this is also another habitat which I leave for later. Not entirely sure what goes in here, but this is logically connected to the indoor section as well. So this is the wall where all the stuff goes down below in the ground, and you know, that's the idea. So this is also a lovely indoor section. None of the porcupines is here right now. Is there someone? Nope. But they can actually go through here, obviously crouch through here, and then they're outside. There are some, so they have actually the space to go through. But now let's go to the restaurant through these doors, and then just in front we have our restaurant over here. Look at that. I haven't connected the seating, by the way. I should have done this so people can actually sit over here. But yeah, I mean, look at this design. I am very, very, very happy with how that turned out. Also, let me just quickly check that I can get some people over here. That looks a lot more interesting, doesn't it? Now we have people sitting over here. Look at that. They're all enjoying their snacks in the sun. She's got a bit of chips there, an ice cream. Look at that. I really like that. I really do like how this all turned out to be looking. I also quickly put a door in here because I forgot, and also put the windows in. But other than that, I am really, 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 really happy with the design. I think it turned out beautifully. I also quickly changed it to gravel. I just felt it more. And then with all these dining tables here to the left connected with like these little staircases, you know. Obviously people just click in and click out, but I think overall it just doesn't make a difference here. You know, we have this wonderful building, and then everyone sits on their tables. We can just assume that they stand up and go down here and then, you know, just leave. I think this is one of my better restaurant areas I've ever built in Planet Zoo, so I'm very happy with how that turned out. However, let's jump out of this cam and fly up a little so we can see the full area that I've been building in today. So first of all, obviously, we have our wonderful desert house. More or less finished. I am very happy with how that turned out so far. I am, like from the outside obviously, I am mega happy with this insanely looking camel area. Like it's looking really good, but there's really not that much I can say about this, because it turned out beautifully. The whole zoo is turning out beautifully. And if you guys want to help me out where we go next, just leave me some comments where we want to go. There's so much I want to plan, and next episode will have a little bit of a focus on A, the interior of the desert house, but B, also where we are going to branch out. And if you want to give some suggestions for the areas, the next areas after the desert house will be this one here to the right hand side. So this one over here needs to get an animal, and also on the other side over here behind our restaurant is the very next. So one of these two will be the branching out idea of the zoo, so that we get it first of all a little bit more to the wider side, and then we branch out toward the lower side from over here. But yeah, as I said, these are the next 3 episodes: interior of the desert house, and then left and right of the house itself. It's gonna get a connection to the roundabout with a dedicated truck entrance to both sides, and then we also need to think about the logistics of the zoo, because as of now there is really a dense central area over here where no vehicles or so could get. So this is why we need to change a couple of things. Anyways, this has been it, and as always, the reminder, if you want to become member of the channel, you can easily do so. 99 cents. You get a wonderful you get access to emotes, you get access to the sneak peek channel on Discord, and so on and so forth. Much appreciated, but you can also easily help me by just hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already. I hope you had a blast just as I had, and I talk to you in the next one.